Hello and welcome to Chicago State University's Black Media and Entertainment Industry Conference. This four-day event is sponsored by the Department of Communications, Media Arts, and Theater here at Chicago State University. For access to the conference program, please go to csu.edu/CMAT and then click on Events. CSU will have a full schedule to face-to-face classes in the fall. Go to csu.edu for more information about registration and scholarships. I'm Liefu Jiang, the Assistant Professor of Public Relations in the Department of Communications, Media Arts, and Theater at Chicago State University. I'm pleased to be here today with Michelle Flowers Welch, the Chairman and CEO of Flowers Communications Group. Welcome, Ms. Flowers Welch.
Thank you.
Ms. Flowers Welch is a visionary public relations and marketing entrepreneur and an award-winning expert in the field of multicultural communications. Flowers Communications Group is one of the nation's top multicultural integrated marketing agencies, which was recently named to Forbes' list of America's Best PR Agency 2021. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Before forming her own agency, Ms. Flowers Welch also worked in some other top PR firms, including Garland Harris Communications and Burrell Communications Group. In her extraordinary career, Ms. Flowers Welch has received more than 100 industry awards for communications excellence. Today, she will share her career experience with us and give suggestions on how to start your professional career. I believe you'll be benefited from it. Welcome, Ms. Flowers Welch. So first, could you please just share your extraordinary professional experience with us?
Thank you so much, Professor Jiang. You see, you already brought tears to my eyes when I think about all the great work that has happened under my agency's umbrella for 30 years. And thank you, Dr. Scott. Thank you, Dr. List. Thank you, Communications Department, for putting on programs like this that truly do help prepare the next generation of diverse professionals in the career that I truly, truly love. I actually have 2 Chicago State graduates on my staff right now, and they're doing an amazing job. And I know it's all because of the great foundation they got at Chicago State University. So as we look at the impact of college on our professions and careers, my college guidance counselor was actually the one who introduced me to public relations. It was along the way, so let me share with you a little bit about my journey. I've known that I wanted my own business since I was a little girl. I am one of 6 siblings. So my father had a very entrepreneurial nature about him, but he chose to give up his desire to have his own business to take care of 6 children and my mom. So I'm a daddy's girl. I was right up under him, and he really helped to fuel my passion for having my own business. As a matter of fact, my very first entrepreneurial vision was as a seamstress and designer. I did that very well. And my mom and dad helped me to monetize it. So when I was in junior high school, I had my first business making clothes for other people who actually included Vince Evans, the Black quarterback who was with the Bears decades ago. He and I went to high school together. So I was able to, from a very early age, start this entrepreneurial vision. So for me, the path was, what is the business going to be? I knew I really loved to write, so I started down a path of being a professional journalist. Still not sure where it would take me from a business perspective, but I was doing something that I love, which is what I always advise people: do the things that you really, really love. So I took courses in college. I did internships. I did an internship at a newspaper, determined I was definitely not going to be in the newspaper industry. Then I did an internship at a television station, absolutely loved it, and thought I was going to be on this path to be a TV journalist. It was right before I was to take a job at the top TV station in North Carolina, where I'm from, that my guidance counselor told me that I might want to take a look at public relations. Public relations, that might be the area that I'd want to go into. And right before I was to take that job, I got an interview with a corporate communications department at a company in North Carolina. I went, I interviewed for that job and got the job, and I took it, and the rest is really history. So I had the opportunity to work on the corporate PR side. I had the opportunity to work on the agency side. I had the opportunity to work on the nonprofit side. But it wasn't until I walked into my first job at an agency, which was Golan. And for those who aren't familiar with Golan, Al Golan is the one who helped to put McDonald's on the map. Okay. So I walked into Golan, and then I knew that I was at home. I knew that at some point in time, I would have my own agency. So moved forward with getting to know agency life more. But I started to have this passion for ethnic marketing, and Golan was not doing ethnic marketing. So I went to work at Burrell, owned by Tom Burrell, who is the giant in African-American advertising. Really had the opportunity to learn under Tom. And I had two great mentors, Al Golan and Tom Burrell. And shortly thereafter, Flowers Communications Group was born. We actually now have celebrated, as of April 23rd, our 30th year in business. I am extremely proud of the work that we've done to really connect brands with Black and Brown communities in some very meaningful ways, creating everything from scholarship programs to financial empowerment initiatives to back to work campaigns, all sorts of great initiatives we've worked with on various client programs. And I'm also very pleased about the number of professionals, strong professionals, who have come through the doors of Flowers Communications Group. People who now are in major positions in corporate America, or who now run nonprofit organizations, or now may have their own firms. So I'm really proud that over the past 30 years, we've been able to contribute to the profession in such a meaningful way.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Flowers Welch. And you know, this is a very valuable opportunity for all of us. So I have some questions on my list. So let me ask first, and then we can use the rest of time for our audience. So our audience, if you have any questions, you can type it in the chatting area, and then I will read it for Ms. Flowers Welch, and she can reply to you. Okay. So first, Ms. Flowers Welch, so you know, some of our audience are high school students. Maybe they're not quite familiar with the industry of public relations. Could you please just give them a short introduction about what is PR and what is the role that PR plays in the current business world? Thank you.
Okay, I'll take it a bit beyond that, because Flowers Communications Group is an integrated marketing firm. We have deep roots in PR, but we also do work across a broad spectrum of marketing communications. We're able to implement a range of diverse platforms and channels in one cohesive effort. That might include public relations, experiential marketing, social media, community relations, advertising. And over the past few years, we've even started to do more work in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space in terms of internal communications programs for our clients. Now, that said, public relations is, for me, one of the most effective ways to build on marketing strategies and create a solid brand reputation. PR can help increase a brand's credibility. It can change a brand perception. It connects a brand with the values of its core consumers and amplifies advertising in ways that affect the bottom line. It's all about building that relationship with a key consumer. That's what PR is, building that relationship with key consumers. And we utilize media to do that very often, or there could be a program that we develop to increase that relationship. So there's so many ways that you can put public relations in practice, all right? From my perspective, African Americans need to be playing a much more powerful role in public relations as consumers demand that they want to see individuals who look like them in leadership and decision-making roles. And that's not happening in our industry. When I stepped into Golan decades ago, I was the only African American in account management. And unfortunately, even today, fast forward, there are too many agencies where that's the case, where they either have one or so few people in account management. And those are the positions where you really help to guide and strategize with clients. And we're not sitting there. We don't have that seat at the table. And I'm puzzled in many ways why this industry is still, according to the data, 85 to 87% white, only 8% African American, something like 6% Latino, and not even 3% Asian. So when you look at the diversity of our country, those numbers don't match. You look at Black and brown communities, and we're at about 36%. And we're nowhere near that in terms of the makeup with the PR industry. So I was so excited and gratified by this racial reckoning of 2020 that made people sit up, that made people take a look at what we need to be doing. And diversifying the communications industry, PR, advertising across all the platforms needs to be at the top of our list, because with communications, you're shaping messaging, okay? And we need to be around the table when messages are shaped. So happy to hear about some of these new campaigns that are taking the rhetoric to a more transformative position. But I definitely am going to be watching to make sure that we are making some meaningful change in our profession.
Okay, thank you. And also, Ms. Flowers, because you mentioned that the proportion of African Americans, Latinos, and Asians in this industry is pretty low compared to the composition of our country, right? But could you please share some of the opportunities and challenges that minorities may meet in this industry, working in this industry? I mean.
Well, I think one of the opportunities is to to not be afraid to be that different voice around the table, because it's that diversity of thinking that I believe creates a really rich product. I've never been afraid to, in any sort of situation, share what I truly think, and what I truly think may be very different than what that client is thinking. We will give our clients our very best advice. In the end, we ultimately will, perhaps come to a real nice consensus on the direction and go that route. But I think because we bring that great, new, different perspective, we shouldn't hide. We should never have a problem sharing that. One of our very first clients was a makeup company. And our job was to really help them sell more products to African-American women, and to help them recruit more African-American women to sell the products. Well, the brochure they gave me was full of white women with blonde hair and blue eyes. I told them, my hands are tied at this juncture. How do you think I'm going to convince African Americans that this product is for them when there are not materials here that show them in the product. It took us an entire year, but we were able to move that client to a place where we actually helped them develop one of their first pieces that showed women of color, Black women specifically, in a promotional piece. And I have to say, we also had to make sure we thought so that that brochure was a mosaic of Black beauty. It wasn't everybody who's light skinned with long hair. You saw the rich tones of Black women and the hair textures of Black women. I just loved it. It's a piece that I'm extremely proud of. So one of the challenges is to make sure that your voice is always heard in any situation that you have. And it's a challenge and an opportunity. It's a challenge if to get in the door, and it's an opportunity to take advantage of as well.
Okay, thank you. And also, I know that you made a lot of efforts to help to encourage younger generation to devote into this industry. For example, you provide internships, fellowships opportunities for us. Could you please just introduce these programs or projects? Thank you.
Okay. Well, I have been from the very beginning of my career very focused on helping others along, bringing them along the path. I think when you're a pioneer and a trailblazer, your work is for naught if you're not opening doors and bringing other people along as well too. Our agency operates off of what I call the Sacred Seven, our 7 core values. And one of those core values is nurturing the next generation of multicultural communications professionals, okay? So I've always had internship initiatives so that we could kind of teach and show along the way. And now I'm really excited about something I'm doing in collaboration with the PRSA Chicago. We now have, it just launched last year, the PRSA Chicago Michelle Flowers Diversity Fellowship. I'm so proud of this fellowship because it does capture the passion and energy that I put into this business for 30 plus years, because I've had my own company for 30 years. And before that, I worked for others. And I know I'm aging myself a little bit, but that's okay. I'm all right being a proud boomer. So with this diversity fellowship, we are identifying people of color, African American, Hispanic, Asian, Pacific Islander, who are interested in communications professions, whether that's advertising, PR, marketing. They're in their junior year, and we will be giving them a $3,000 award in their junior year. Then over the summer, a paid internship at an agency associated with PRSA Chicago. Then in their senior year, if they maintain that 3.0 average, they get another award. And then the exciting thing for me is when they graduate, the doors will open in terms of their opportunities to interview and potentially get employment right away in our industry. So I'm really excited about that, looking forward to it. We'll be announcing our winners in the next couple of weeks, and I'm happy about the kind of robust participation that we got in it. So very pleased to put my name on something that will really help build that pipeline of talent in our industry.
Okay, thank you. And also, some of our audience are college students. So if they are interested in start a career in the industry of PR, advertising, or marketing, what kind of suggestions or advice could you please give them? How to start their career?
I would say to learn as much as you possibly can about the business and explore different opportunities. I had the opportunity to hear my buddy Lewis Carr speaking this morning to kick off the conference, and he talked about internships. And I've been doing internships as long as I could think of it. I did internships when I was of age in high school, then I did internships when I was in college, and those opportunities really help you narrow the field in terms of the things that you really like and want to do. I also would encourage you to take every opportunity that you can, even from an employment perspective, till you find exactly what it is and where it is your heart and passion lie. For example, I had several jobs on the corporate side and on the nonprofit side before I walked into the agency side and then fell in love. But I was not afraid to leave one opportunity and go to another in order to find my path. I would also say find all kinds of opportunities in the PR realm, whether it's volunteering for an organization, a nonprofit organization, or a cause. You can learn a lot in a volunteer environment. I used to do a lot of that. And then while you're in school, there are lots of opportunities to learn as well. You could volunteer to do work with the school newspaper. I was the editor of the newspaper in high school and in college. You could work on the yearbook. You could work on whatever social media channels your school has, or volunteer to support some of the organizations, whether it's the band, whether it is the one of the athletic teams. So you can get all kinds of experience in this industry because it's so broad and vast, and it can really help you narrow down the specific area that you might be interested in.
Okay. And also, because you mentioned the corporate side and the agency side, could you please give more information about what do you think the most important differences between working as a PR or advertising or marketing professionals in the corporate side and in the agency side?
On the corporate side, you're typically working for one company and one brand. It might be a number of different programs for that corporation. So you'll have an opportunity to work on different projects for that corporation, but it's still one brand, one culture, and how they may approach communications. On the agency side, you can work for 5 or 6 different brands. And I used to love it because I was able to put on a different hat. The hat I put on for my banking client was very different than the hat I put on when I worked for Lowry Seasoned Salt, or very different than the hat that you put on when you're working for McDonald's, or very different than the hat that you might put on when you're working for a Honda. So I just love the variety because for me, it was always just a challenge to work on the different brands and to really, really, really kind of move my talents to different places by working on different pieces of business. So that's the difference in the two. For in a corporation, you're working on behalf of and telling the story, the broad and robust story of a particular brand and how it interacts within society and communities. On the agency side, you have the opportunity to use those skills against a lot of different brands, a lot of different brands. On the agency side, it's extremely unpredictable as well too. So some people don't like that the day is so varied. The day doesn't have more of a routine nature to it. But I thrived in that environment, absolutely loved it, and knew that I would be on the agency side for the rest of my professional career.
Okay, so do they require different kind of basic skills? I mean, from the corporate side or from the agency side for newly graduated student?
No, if you're in public relations, your skill set for the most part is going to be the same. It's how do you want to apply it? You need to be an excellent writer. You need to have great oratory skills. You need to be a great strategist. There are just certain things that you need to know how to do within our profession. And if you've been on the nonprofit side, they transfer to the corporate side and they'll transfer to the agency side. It's just what kind of environment do you choose to take your talents to? I've worked on all three, so I know what each of them takes. I found my sweet spot and have stayed there. Could I work on the corporate side? Sure, if I ever wanted to be in that kind of environment. Could I work on the nonprofit side? Most certainly. And I actually volunteer on a couple of nonprofit boards. The Salvation Army is one of the nonprofits that I support, and I utilize all the skills, those skills that we've talked about in my work with the Salvation Army.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, we have about 15 minutes left, so let's move to the next session for the Q&A. Let's see what kind of questions our audience may have, okay?
What kind of questions do I have? Wow.
Yeah, so you can, everyone, you can type the questions in the chatting area and I will read it, okay? Let's see, any questions? Maybe I can ask the first question. Ms. Flowers Welch, so nowadays, because, oh, there's a question. Okay. So besides nurturing the next generation, what are the other sacred seven? You mentioned the sacred seven values of your company.
Yes, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Okay, they said besides the nurturing the next generation, what are the other sacred seven, the core value? What are the other six?
I'm not going to go down the whole list, but they deal with doing quality work. That's one of them, because I'll have to explain all of them. So I'll just mention a couple of them. Dealing quality work. They deal with the kind of environment I wanted to create, a fun, familiar environment, and I have done that. They deal with collaboration and working together as a team. Another one of them deals with what I call doing the right thing. That may sound nebulous, but it is so much a part to me of who we are personally and professionally, that we call on ourselves to always do the right thing. So those are a couple of the core values that are part of the Sacred Seven. And we don't publicize the Sacred Seven on our website or anything. So generally you learn about the depth and breadth of the Sacred Seven once you join Flowers Communications Group. But that kind of gives you a feel about what they are and the core values. And you'll see that when you study lots of businesses, come from who and what the owner is and the kind of environment the owner is trying to create. So every one of our core values is a reflection of who and what I am, how I approach the work, what I think, the kind of business that I wanted to build.
Yeah, maybe the good star should be applied to your diversity fellowship project next year.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question is, what can I do to start my career?
What can you do to start your career? If you are in college and a college graduate, interview, and do a diversity of interviews. Interview with the nonprofit organization. Interview with an agency. Agencies have lots of opportunities to bring in entry-level talent. Interview with a government entity. We've got a couple of government entities as clients right now, and they need good, strong talent. So interview. And then I'm sure if you're interviewing well and positioning yourself well, you'll get an opportunity to get into the business. Okay. There's lots of opportunity out here for people who are in public relations and communications. It's continuing to grow. Yeah, so that means take all the opportunities that you can take, right? Yes, okay. Yes. And perfect your talents at them. Perfect showing who you are, what you can do, why you're of value to that particular organization, why you stand out from other people that they might be interviewing. And each of us does stand out because each of us is unique. Each of us is our own special brand. You know, don't be afraid to embrace what that is and to showcase it. I've been that way since I was a little girl, and it came as a result of being one of six children. So you know, you don't want to take on anyone what anyone else is. So you dig deep to bring out who you are.
Okay, thank you. Oh yeah, next question is about your uh, background, maybe. So what made you want to get in this profession or your passion behind it?
My passion behind it is my love of writing, and writing is integral to public relations because public relations is about communications and messaging for clients. So when I was a little girl, my cousin would write me a little letter to so that we would connect. My cousin actually lived in Chicago, and I was in North Carolina, and we would write back and forth, and it's so funny because she would write this one-page letter and I'd answer back in eight, writing not just how my day was, but what made my day special. So from an early age, I loved to write and describe and shape an experience and a message. And that was what drove my passion. I always knew, as I shared too, that I wanted to be a business owner. So it was a matter of finding the right intersection of my love of business and my love of writing. How would they come together? I didn't know what a public relations agency was when I was growing up. I didn't know what public relations was, period, not to mention an agency. So because I followed the path that God had carved out for me, I moved from North Carolina to Chicago and then pursued my master's at Northwestern, and then allowed all of these different doors to open. Flowers Communications Group became my dream, and I didn't, I wasn't in the professional world that long before I started my own business.
Okay, and thank you. The next question is, what major in college would lead to a PR career, marketing or communications?
There are a number of ways that you can get into this business as long as you are able to, at some point in time, study the fundamentals. And as long as you have a good command of the written word. My major was English. There was no PR major at my school. I didn't know what PR was really until my senior year. Hadn't had the opportunity to study about it in any kind of way. So my career took off because once I got on the corporate communications side, I really studied what I needed to know to understand how to write a press release, how to write a media alert, you know, how to write a newsletter copy, how to perfect writing in the various platforms that are a part of public relations. So you could major in marketing and take PR courses. These days, there is a PR discipline at a lot of schools that wasn't when I was in college. So you can major in PR, you can major in communication. So there's really a variety of directions you can go in to get into this career and be very successful. One of the large agencies, I have a friend who's in HR at one of the large agencies, and they even like to hire people who don't major in PR, who still are very, very, very good writers. So if this is your career goal, there are a number of ways that you can get into it in terms of the major, but definitely study. Become a member of the Public Relations Society of America, the student chapter that they have. There's the Black Public Relations Society. You can join that. There's ColorCom. There are all kinds of organizations that can really help you shape what your career path looks like.
Okay, and also we have the concentration of PR here at CSU. So if you are interested, you yeah, you can apply to our project. Okay, so we provide PR courses, writing for PR courses, marketing for PR, and practicum for PR. And also we're setting up our own PR SSA club at CSU. So if you join us, you will have a lot of opportunities to practice what you've learned from PR courses, and also you will have connections with the industry, with professionals like Ms. Flowers Welch. Okay, so yes, so if you are really interested in this industry, just apply for us, okay? Okay.
Yes.
And another question is, what's the best way to branch from corporate to agency works? So many agencies are looking only for people with previous agency experience. So what's your opinion about that, Ms. Flowers Welch?
I think you have to stand out in the crowd. These HR people, they may have a set criteria of what they're looking for, but I'm telling you, if you stand out in the crowd, if your writing is excellent, if you package and position yourself in a way, they'll take a chance on you. They will. I know that for a fact. So even though the job may say they want previous experience, which means you would have had to intern potentially somewhere else to get the experience if you're right out of college, then I would still pursue it and just make sure that I stood out among the resumes that they get.
Okay, so that means so you need to highlight your strengths, right? So make you more salient among the other application.
Stand out as a crowd,
Yeah.
stand out in the crowd. And as I said, each one of us is a brand, each one of us is unique. What can you tap into with that uniqueness that you bring to the table that makes that HR recruiter say, this is somebody I want to interview. I know what we were looking for, but here's someone that I think could really make a difference to our business. So I'm going to interview them.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I really think that is a really good suggestion. Another question is, I am a writer, but I don't know where to start after I graduate. So what's your suggestions, Ms. Flowers Welch?
You're a writer and you
Yeah.
don't know where you want to start after you graduate.
Yes, that is the question.
I would, well, it depends on what kind of writing you want to do. Do you want to write a book? Are you a poet? Do you want to get into public relations? There's so many different wonderful things that you can do with writing. So I would suggest that you kind of explore the different options that your writing will take you. I've never wanted to be an author. People always tell me, Michelle, you ought to write a book. You ought to write a book. I don't really want to write a book. That takes a certain kind of writing and time and attention. I want to run my agency for another couple of decades, you know? So how do you want to use this talent and gift that you have of writing and narrow it down, and then you can focus more? Is it more creative writing? Could you see yourself working at an agency or corporation doing writing designed to connect with media, drive media attention, publicity for a company? Do you want to write in a nonprofit environment? There's so many things. That's the beauty of writing. It's one of those talents and skills that can go across so many disciplines. A lot of lawyers started out being great writers. So you've got to do some exploratory work to kind of look at some of the options and then make some decisions based on that. But I'm telling you that having writing as a skill is so transferable. So you've already got a good, strong talent that you could utilize in a number of different ways.
Okay, and she said, I'm writing a book right now, and do you know what is the best publishing house to go for beginner writers?
I don't know too much about publishing and publishing houses, but I bet if you continue to participate in this great conference, which is about media and entertainment, and I know they're talking further about publishing and things of that nature, some of these speakers, you'll be able to find a good publisher for your book.
Yeah, we will have a panel about comic books tomorrow. So yeah, you can attend that. Maybe you can find some more some information that you need. Okay, and we have 5 minutes left. So let's make the last question. So anyone wants to take that opportunity to ask the last question for today?
Last question for the day.
Yeah. Um, Okay, maybe I can ask the last question. Ms. Flowers Welch, do you think what kind of effect or impact does social media bring to our PR, advertising, marketing industry nowadays?
Social media
Yeah.
brings an immediacy unlike anything we've ever seen out here. Social media has the ability to transform. We've seen it with what happened with George Floyd. We've seen it with this racial reckoning over the past 2020. I think social media is now one of the most powerful tools that we now have in our arsenal as PR professionals.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it brings our both opportunities and challenges, right?
As does anything,
Yeah.
there are opportunities and there are challenges. So if you want to specialize in that particular area, there are people who are social media strategists, people who help shape that messaging for a brand and who manage and monitor that social media community, which can make a brand or break a brand. If a brand is on the wrong side of history, or if a brand is appropriating the culture in the wrong kind of way, or if a brand is silent about something. And as a social media strategist, you can really help whoever it is you're working with, whatever company you're working with, really kind of put together a strong, smart strategy that supports everything that they are about as a brand and really kind of further deepens their relationship with their consumers and the community at large.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, time is up. So on behalf of everyone at Chicago State University, thank you, Ms. Flowers Welch, for joining us today. And thank you for your amazing presentations and answering our audience questions. I believe that our audience are all benefited from your talk about the role of African American people in the industry of PR. And now they're aware of how to start their career in this industry. I really hope that we can invite you again as our keynote speaker in future events. Okay.
I would love to come back. Thank you, Dr. Jiang. Thank you again,
so
C, and everyone who has been a part of this. I hope that you were able to get some pearls of wisdom and some assistance to help you on your journey. And please take advantage of the other sessions for the next few days. Chicago State has put together a powerful conference, and it's good that you've determined you're going to be a part of it.
Thank you so much. And everyone, you can reuse this Zoom link to access today's panel. Please go to csu.edu/CMAT and click events to view the complete conference lineup. If you are a teacher applying to receive professional development credits for attending one of our 4 K-12 accredited panels, please use the link in the chat to receive more information, or go to csu.edu/CMAT and click on events. To access the conference tomorrow, please use the new link that will appear in your email tomorrow morning. Thank you to everyone for joining us. Thank you. Have a good one.